Hey, do you know what time it is? That's right. It's time for Coach Lindy's podcast. The podcast to get you moving. Hi, I'm Lindy Hutchinson, a certified life mastery consultant with the Brave Thinking Institute. As a life coach, I help others transform their life as I have mine. It's not easy, but it is possible, and it most certainly is worth it. Each week, I'll share insights that inform, inspire, and ignite in you your desire to create a life that you love. So let's find out what's going on this week. Welcome to the podcast. It's always my pleasure to be with you. And I have to apologize right at the get-go because I am going to talk about a lady I obviously know very little about, but I will encourage you, you probably knowing a lot more about her than I, encourage you to look her up and get refreshed on your knowledge of Florence Nightingale. Apparently, I was either asleep or I skipped the lessons about the amazing Florence Nightingale. She is a person who demonstrates what you can do when you have the spirit and the desire to do it, and then you use your skills and abilities to help others. She was born in May of 1820, and she passed away in August of 1910. So she lived a hearty 90 years, and what she accomplished was absolutely staggering. She is referred to as the lady with the lamp, which again, you may remember. I do not remember that. So I did a lot of cramming so I could share at least a couple key things about her life with you. And of course, I would encourage you, if you feel like it, have some time, go on my favorite source of information, free information, which is YouTube. Or if you maybe rent some books that you can listen to about Florence Nightingale. She was called the Lady in the Lamp because as she started her nursing career, which we'll talk about in a minute, this was not looked upon with favor being in the Victorian era. She was born, lived a great deal of her life in London, and she was born to a very wealthy family. And nice ladies weren't nurses. In fact, nursing as we know today didn't really exist. In fact, she is attributed starting the nursing as we know it today industry. She was actually born in Florence. Her family, who were very wealthy and well-connected, they traveled a great deal, and they had homes in several cities throughout Europe. And they traveled, and she had a premonition or a vision when she was 17 to do more with her life than just marry another influential man and have children. Not that that was bad, but she wanted to do something extraordinary, and extraordinary she was. She had, at a very young age, a ability with numbers, statistics, and apparently as a young girl, she actually was into making graphs. Whoa, okay. In a BBC documentary, this was said about Florence had a sister. The two daughters grew up together. It said that Florence and her older sister benefited from their father's advanced ideas about women's education. Because as you may remember, at this time period in Victorian era, women, especially wealthy ladies, they did not get their hands dirty. They didn't touch other people. This was not proper. But fortunately, her dad had different ideas. They studied history, mathematics, Italian, classical literature, and philosophy. And from an early age, Florence, who was more academic than the two of the girls, displayed an extraordinary ability for collecting and analyzing data, which she could use to great effect later in life. So this particular episode would be many hours long if I were to even do a recap of her life. But a couple of highlights is that she felt like she had a calling to God. And even though her family wasn't super duper keen on her becoming a nurse or helping people, she did show at a very young age a ability to help heal animals and people. And so this was a natural thing for her. And then with her ability to create graphs, and she was very skilled at writing. She was very helpful with the Crimean War, 1850s. She ended up having a troop of ladies who helped in the hospitals. And initially, the male doctors weren't too happy about having her around. So they called her the lady with the lamp because she would come in at night and check on the soldiers. And after a while, when the doctors realized that the compassion and care that she and then all these other nurses started giving helped a great deal. In fact, probably many people did not die. They were actually able to heal because of the data, the information, and the care that Florence and her fellow nurses were able to give. The hospital conditions were horrific. They're absolutely awful. And of course, this was early. This was still early. I'm not sure if germs were discovered yet, but she implemented washing hands and fresh water and cleaning and replacing bandages and certain things like they didn't tell family members if their loved ones were dead or alive. And when they died, a lot of times people never saw them again. So Florence thought that was appalling, which it was. So she wrote letters when someone passed away to their family. Also, there was no provision for soldiers' money to be shipped or to help take care of the family at home. So there was a lot of destitute women and starving kids at home while the husband went off to fight in a war. So she worked with the bankers in the bank of one of the banking industries to set up their monies to be sent to family members. So she did a lot to help everybody. She helped the soldiers. She helped the families of the soldiers. She helped with the cleanliness. She kept graphs, diagrams, data. She was amazing. And then she helped train new nurses to continue. In fact, she received a jewel, a crest from Queen Victoria for all of her works and her abilities to help in the war effort. There's information after information after information about Florence, but she never married, she never had children. Her life was in servitude to help others. So this week, our power word is compassion and the power of compassion. And Florence Nightingale, having the advantage of knowing a lot of people and having some financial resource, she was able to use those things to help probably hundreds of thousands of people in the long run. And then to help set up what we know as nursing today, the numbers are, it goes on and on and on. So our Train Your Brain thought is Florence Nightingale using her gift of compassion, most certainly with her other gifts. And our Hey, That's Funny, from that Hey, That's Funny file, my wife and I were happy for 20 years, and then we met. that wasn't very nice. I know. So it's great to be with you. Look up Florence Nightingale when you can. It's always great to read about someone who sacrificed what could have been a very luxuriant, self-motivated life and actually helped millions in the long run. So keep creating a life that you love, and take care until I see you again. Bye-bye for now. Hey, thanks for joining me this week. I look forward to being with you every week. And if you'd like to get in touch with me, please email me at coachlindy@lindyhutchinson.com. My name is spelled L-Y-N-D-I, so it's Coach Lindy, L-Y-N-D-I, at Lindy Hutchinson, LYNDIHUTCHINSON.com. I value what your input is, and I'm always open for suggestions and ideas. If you will like and or subscribe to this podcast, that would be wonderful. I appreciate it. And I enjoy anything that you might want to send in, or if you would like some more information about coaching, send me an email and I will get back with you, and we'll talk about how you can create your best life. Have a good week. We'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye-bye.